So I've been thinking a lot about next gen as of lately, due to E3 being over, well, at least over for a couple days, and especially since Xbox its conference a few days ago, where they just outright said that they're working on the next Xbox. In fact, they're deep into development of the next Xbox, which is expected. It's when did the PS4 and Xbox come out? 2013. So it's been a while. This is like its fifth year, and back in the '90s, it was pretty much common. Um, '90s and early 2000s is pretty common that by this time you would get a new console. So it's just about time now, and console generations are longer than they used to be, especially since the seventh gen with the PS4 and the Xbox 360. Sorry, PS3 and Xbox 360. So it's just about time to start talking about next gen and what's going on in those systems. And Phil Spencer had an interview the other day. This is aside from the conference that they had. That they were talking a bit about what they want to put inside of the system, and that's interesting in its own right that they're talking about this early, because I don't think that the next Xbox and the PS5 is coming out. I think they're coming out too soon. I think 2020 will be a good time for them to release the next systems, but that's besides the point. He was talking about how they wanted to, that he admitted really that the current gen, he's talking about his own, the Xbox One, but really the current gen systems, their CPUs they were too slow this time around. They were too slow. They were rather weak. They had 8 cores, but I believe 8 cores. I don't know if it's 4 cores and 8 threads, but they had enough cores. I'm going to assume it's 8 cores. They had enough cores to sound impressive, but they were really low end CPUs. They weren't really used for. It wasn't really supposed to be used for something like a gaming console. This is something for like a tablet or something like that. That's what it's better used for. And he admitted that it kind of held the system back in a way. It held back frame rate, and it kind of just bottlenecked the whole system in a way. And so that kind of, after reading that interview, that was pretty interesting for him to admit that. And usually, I would think usually you admit those kind of downfalls of your system a little bit later. Like this is like I would expect about a year before the system comes out, a year and change, not like 2 years and perhaps even 3 years away. So I thought that was an interesting little quote from him. He wanted to get the system starting much faster than it did before. And for anyone that's on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, you put in your disc, and it has to download and it has to install, and that can take a while. I remember I was trying to get Final Fantasy 15 on, and the game it was a nightmare. Something's going on with my PS4 anyway, but it was a nightmare to get on. And of course, anyone that's been waiting for Final Fantasy 15, that long wait sucked. But it took about 50 minutes to download and install the whole thing, and it was the first time where I'm just like, wow, maybe I thought I had good patience, but geez, it's just sucked that day. So that was when I really started to notice that maybe I remember them in the beginning touting that you can you download a piece of it and then of the game and you can get started. And that never really happened. I didn't see it anyway. The games that I bought, I didn't see that happening, where you can just download a piece of it, and then you can go on playing. I didn't notice that. So I found that him admitting that they want to get the system and the games working, going a lot faster, was an interesting quote from him again. And this isn't. it's a good time to start talking about these things now, to get ourselves ready for next gen. And when it comes to next gen, no matter what we talk about, no matter what we say, they're pretty far in development in these systems. These things take a long time. And if anyone remembers, back in about 2012, I believe, this is like 2012, like really early 2013, Nintendo was like saying, hey, we're already working on the next system. And the Wii U like just came out. And the same thing happened with the PS4 too. I believe, if my memory serves me right, they were, it was just a couple months in, and they were just like, we're already thinking about what kind of features we're gonna put in the next PlayStation. So this is fairly common. It happens every generation. People are always surprised. They're like, oh man, the PlayStation 4 just came out. Why are you already talking about the next PlayStation? It was because these systems take a really long time to make, like a really long time. You have to, they pretty much have to plan out a lot of things going on with the system, in terms of, working with the company to not only develop the actual next system, but to do the smaller things, like how the PlayStation 4 has a slim model and a little bigger things, like the actual half step they're doing with the PlayStation 4 Pro, and and the Xbox One X and whatnot. So they work with these companies for a long time, and I can imagine those contracts are pretty intense. I can imagine. So if they wanted to look somewhere else, they kind of couldn't really want to do that. They can't do that. But anyway, I feel like I'm getting off track. So with all this talk of next gen, and what Microsoft pretty much hopes to do with it, I'm kind of interested in see how things go. This generation is still going strong. I mean, this E3, like it or not, it had a lot of games to show. I think especially Sony's. I'm really excited about Ghost of Tsushima and Spider-Man, and oh man, what else did they show? They showed Kingdom Hearts. They showed Neo 2. I can't remember if they showed Tales of Vesperia. That might have been the Xbox conference. But they showed a lot of games in that are really interesting, that a lot of fans are going to like. Oh, Resident Evil. That's what I'm excited about. So they're showing these games off. And this generation has there's no signs of stopping. So it's going pretty strong. And I can imagine now's the time, and especially 2019, where they're going to push more for that PlayStation Pro and the Xbox One X experience. Try to get the most out of those systems before this gen ends. And and it's not a lot of time. That's about 2, maybe 3 years from now. And and because of that, I like to talk about how maybe just because a generation technically ends doesn't mean it's technically done with. It's like how there was still PlayStation 3 support and Xbox 360 support. They still went on for a couple years, and people have complained about it. They went on for like 2 extra years, and they should have. And like that Metal Gear Solid 5, right? That had a PlayStation 3 and an Xbox 360 port, which shouldn't have happened. So it's interesting to see, something like that happen. And I think that's what's going to happen this upcoming gen. And you're going to see full backwards compatibility with both the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One with those next systems. And they're using the I think PlayStation, or I can't remember the article, but they're going to be using the Ryzen. Definitely they're going to be using Ryzen chips. These companies have worked with AMD for a long time now, and I wouldn't be surprised if they still did. So them having the oh my god, my mind. I just forgot what I was going to say. That them having the staying with AMD and going with Ryzen, that makes a lot of sense. And Ryzen chips are a lot better than current chips they have in the Jaguar CPUs. They're a lot faster. They can get a lot done. I mean, they're just overall impressive. So impressive that if anyone's read, they've pretty much pushed Intel to kind of, stop being lazy and continue, lower their prices and try and innovate a little bit more, which they're kind of struggling right now, but they'll get there. So those Ryzen chips are doing really well. And I believe they're going to be using AMD graphics chips, the Navi architecture, instead of Vega, which is going to be 7 nanometers and whatnot. So, they're pretty much set on these little we kind of know what they're going to be doing and how they're and what to expect hardware wise. So we already know Ryzen is really good, and I'm not too sure. I haven't been paying attention too much to how their GPUs are doing, AMD's, but it's comparable, right? It's not too bad. It's no GTX 1080. Nvidia is still pretty much, I think they're king, right? In graphics cards, they're really expensive, but they're really good. But AMD is cheaper, and it's more for it's more gamer friendly and more consumer friendly. You don't want to spend too much, and they're not the top of the line, but they're not they're not really bad depending on which one you get. So it's gonna be pretty interesting. And so with that, since it's they're getting these chips from the same company and whatnot, I expect full backwards compatibility, and you can bring over your whole library of PS4 and Xbox One games over to the next gen systems. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a priority, somewhat of a priority, because I can't tell now, but I don't know if these consoles are going to be expensive or not, how far in they're going to go with this power wise, efficiency wise, and features and whatnot. I don't know what they're going to do. We don't know yet. But I think that due to how Sony got a lot of backlash for not having good backwards compatibility, how basically you had to do a streaming service or you had to buy them again with that weird streaming service or whatever, and how Xbox was a bit better, because the Xbox 360's architecture wasn't too bad compared to how the PlayStation 3's not Zen, what's it called, the I forgot the name of the chip that CPU that the PlayStation 3 used. But because of that, the PlayStation 3 had a hard time. They had a hard time porting anything over the PlayStation 3, and Xbox had a better time of doing that. And they're dripping it out, if you can tell. Like, they're just having just a few things come out every once in a while for the Xbox One from those old systems. So I can imagine that Xbox's dedication towards backward compatibility will continue on next gen, and PS4 that's probably going to be a good, somewhat surprise, air quotes, to have full backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 4. And that would be interesting. You have the power of the next gen, but you also have the what would you call the whole catalog of PS4, and you'll be able to max them out too, I believe. I mean, it'd be weird if they didn't. You have Resident Evil 2 remake, and that would run at 4K at least. Hopefully fully 4K, not this checkerboarding thing that PS4 does, but the full 4K, and God, what is it? The hopefully some kind of option for 60 frames per second. So that's kind of what I expect from the next gen, and kind of what I hope. I think I'm gonna probably end this video soon. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I already mentioned that I'm not too sure how these systems are gonna look, how powerful they're gonna be, what things are gonna look, I do expect a lot in terms of how the CPU is going to be involved, because the CPUs this gen were kind of crappy. So I hope that frame rates don't have to suffer next time. But I don't know if they're going to sacrifice that for the graphics. So who wants to buy a new system and looks not too noticeably different from a PlayStation 4? You know what I'm saying? So I do have high expectations due to that CPU that they're putting in next gen. And storage. God, maybe I should make a different video on this, because these are more nitpicks and whatnot. But that storage has to go up. But I think I'm gonna call it a video here now, and I hope you guys look forward to my upcoming videos coming soon. Maybe we'll talk a bit more about next gen. Now's the time. We're into next gen category now, or rumor now, and expect a lot these next 2 years, like a lot of them, especially next year. And man, I don't know. Just expect a lot of wacky rumors. I can't wait to report on those wacky rumors, because there's always those wacky rumors where it's like, it's going to do 8K, maybe even 12K. And whatnot. But, I can't wait for all that. So I'm going to call it a video today. And thank you guys for listening. Bye.